Barcelona. I don't know if I'm saying
Come
it
on.
exactly the way they
I've
say
never
it.
heard you sound more American.
I'm supposed to fake a Spanish accent
Yeah,
now?
like Ilaria Baldwin.
She fakes everything. Let's,
Ilaria.
I,
Do
um,
say Barcelona like Ilaria Baldwin. Come on.
Barcelona. I said it very sultry too.
You
Barcelona.
became like a soap opera star.
I just got back from Barcelona.
Welcome back to today's episode of Just You and Me, and we are recording virtually, and we have to do this entire episode rhymey.
No, we do? Shit.
You already
I,
ruined it.
well, what am I supposed to do? You just dropped that on me.
I thought you were a creative type. I thought that you could pull that off.
I am creative, but not on the spot. I can't do it on the spot.
You can't do a lot on the spot, clearly. Adam, welcome back to the show. Are you nervous about recording virtually? You're out of your comfort zone. You're not in your flow. You're not on the spotlight. You don't have Lance's, takes in the room.
That's true. I don't think it's nervous. I think it's a little different.
Why?
What do you mean why? Because it's virtual. It's not in person. I don't see yourself. I don't see you fumbling
Okay.
around and looking at your phone while I'm talking the entire time. Oh, there it is. Never mind. Never mind. I can do it too. See, phone, not paying attention to you. Yeah, I'm fine. It's all good. We're virtual. We have lives. We have to sometimes, think of different ways to get to the people. But we're
We're
always
always
getting to
gonna
the people.
we'll always find our way to the people.
Oh, yes.
So, Adam, where are you recording from for the people that are listening audio? Where are you recording from right now? From your fancy studio? Where is it?
My fancy studio. It's a fancy playroom meant for a 5-year-old. And it's the best place I could find in my house. It's not that exciting. It's
Is this
really,
a play? No, we really started a conversation online about your naps.
yes.
I do think it's split 50-50. I'm shocked. In fact, I've talked to a lot of people about the nap situation since I posted this clip.
Men or women?
Well, I don't talk to so many men.
I
So
don't know.
women.
You're saying okay, but then specify that next time because
Sorry,
they're gonna have more of a opinion on that.
no, I've come up with the solution. I've come up with the decision of why it is so split 50-50.
Okay.
The women who don't have an issue with their husbands napping, and trust me, there are some of us out there,
Okay.
are the ones who are lazy. The women who nap on their own, the women who don't love to be very like hustle bustle movie, like moving, go,
Right.
go women. There's a lot of women out there that are more chill, that want to kind of like do nothing. I've spoken to them. I'm not judging them, but I spoke to one mom yesterday at baseball.
Okay.
And I love her dearly. And I asked her when I was editing this clip, I said, do you have an issue if you ever saw your husband, who happens to be my son's baseball coach? And he's very successful. So I said, would you ever have an issue if middle of the day he's just napping? And she goes, no, never. And I said, really? And she said, no, because I nap every day. I said,
Now,
there you go.
I think it's funny that you characterize these people as lazy because I don't. They're not lazy. They're being efficient with their time and making sure they have a way to re-energize themselves. Yeah. Yeah. Hand motions are needed for this, Donna.
Okay.
They re-energize themselves. So for the second half of the day, they can be amazing parents.
Is that what you call it?
It's what I know.
So you're saying that you do not get tired ever because of that nap in the afternoons?
I mean, I can get a little sleepy depending on, what's going on, but no, it re-energizes me.
It really works?
I mean, that's why I do it.
Siesta, baby.
Exactly. And someone brought that up. There are cultures, generations have done this in certain cultures. they have siestas. They have a break where they can recharge, and part of that is taking a nap. And
Listen,
then,
I have to say, and
okay,
I will give you this. I do have downtime every day. Some days less than others, depending on my schedule, because sometimes I'm recording back to back to back, or I have appointments, or I have, you know, things that I've got to get done. But usually on an ideal day, I
hmm
finish Daily Dose. I get it online and try to get it uploaded and edited and all that by like 1 p.m. And I'll run into my kitchen and I'll put together a little bit of a lunch. And while I'm eating, if it's a nice day, I'll sit outside of my backyard and I'll eat and I'll scroll and chill for like 30 minutes.
okay.
And that is my downtime. So I guess instead of doing that, I could be napping.
I mean, that's the same for me. For me, I have where where I work, I do very early mornings. I have a lot of
Because you
calls in the
work with
morning.
the international community.
Yeah, I work a lot with Barcelona. So a lot of the conversations I'm having are with
How do
overseas.
you how do you say Barcelona? Don't aren't you
Uh,
supposed to say Barcelona?
uh, you know what? Say it that way. I'm going to continue saying it Barcelona.
Barcelona.
I don't even know what that is. It's like you're drunk trying to say it. It's like you're tailing off at the end there. What the hell was that? Yeah, great. Keep going. It gets
Isn't it like
better and better every time you say it.
Ibiza?
Oh God.
How do you say it? Isn't there a way to say Barcelona like the
Well,
locals?
you're supposed to Barcelona. It's like more
You
of a
say it.
TH sounding.
You say
I
it like
just said it.
the locals.
Barcelona. I don't know if I'm saying
Come
it
on.
exactly the way they
I've
say
never
it.
heard you sound more American.
I'm supposed to fake a Spanish accent
Yeah,
now?
like Ilaria Baldwin.
She fakes everything. Let's,
Ilaria.
uh,
Do
um,
say Barcelona like Ilaria Baldwin. Come on.
Barcelona. I said it very sultry too.
You
Barcelona.
became like a soap opera star.
I just got back from Barcelona.
Barcelona.
Oh, you put in a little
Like
ripple there too. Brr.
a
What is that called?
Barcelona.
Jeez. Bar,
We
nah,
need to drink some sangria with Barcelona.
I don't even know what this accent is anymore, Dana. Diana? Donna? I don't know what this accent is.
Okay, Adam.
Oh.
All right. So anyway,
Anyway, so I have early mornings and I will do all my calls, get some work done. Then I will take a siesta around lunchtime and then I'll get more work done. And I'm recharged to get that work done. And not only that, I'll go pick up my kids. I'll take them
um,
to all of their fun activities,
play
uh,
dates,
play
classes.
dates, art, gymnastics, Girl Scout stuff, all of that. And that's the way I do it.
I love it.
And I'm glad you do. You didn't seem like you loved it last week, but
I
I'm
still
glad you
love
love
giving
it
you
this
shit
time.
about it.
I know, that's fine. My wife gives me shit about it all the time.
So, Adam,
Mm-hmm.
you and I had an
Hmm.
interesting week last week.
Yes, we did. Uh,
We actually have a lot to talk about today. There's a lot going on in the Jewish community that we
mhm.
want to talk about. Look, there's always a lot going on in the Jewish community, and we decide, I think, if we want like to get into some more serious topics each week.
Right.
Do we want to keep it light? Do we want to go heavy? And like we could technically, being the fact that we are in such a heightened kind of weird time to be Jewish with anti-Semitism raising across the world and obviously the war and everything. We could go heavy every single week and we don't want it to be that way. But you invited me actually to go to see a
Yes.
screening of the documentary October 8th last Monday. And
Hmm.
we have to talk about that. That
Yeah.
was important.
Yeah. I think, a lot of stuff we've been talking about is so ridiculous and fun. And I enjoy talking about it. But of course, a lot of this is, about being Jewish. It's not just about all the fun stuff that we've been talking about, but it's also the negative stuff and the stuff that we've been dealing with as a community. And October 8th kind of encapsulates everything in terms of what we have seen, what we've been experiencing, and why, and like, trying to figure out how does this message get out to the larger community, not Jewish community, non-Jewish community, to really understand the shit that we go through on a daily basis, in person or online.
So, why don't we kind of like explain to anyone that's listening that has not heard about October 8th? Because it's kind of
Sure.
surprising Jews and non Jews that haven't, especially non Jews, but Jews even, who I would imagine are very educated kind of on what's going on, a lot of them have not even heard of October 8th. When I mentioned that I was going, a lot of people in my audience hadn't even heard of it.
Right.
So, what is
Uh,
October 8th?
so so basically this was launched out. Can you look up the name of the producer? I can't remember what her name is.
The woman that we
Wendy.
spoke to,
Yeah.
Wendy,
Yeah.
oh, she's the director, isn't she?
She was
Or
a
just the producer,
producer.
Wendy
Yeah.
Sachs.
Okay. Wendy Sachs. Basically, she had this idea, and it was kind of built off of obviously what happened after October 7th. But I found it interesting that, you know, when she saw what happened, like every other Jew or Israel supporter, devastated, absolutely devastated. But was what was so outrageous and nauseating about everything else, not not that happened on October 7th, what started happening on October 8th. Um, she had mentioned, and this is mentioned in the documentary, is that um, the very next day there was already protests in major cities across the country, but even across the world, that were anti-Israel and pro-Hamas, and it came together so quickly that it caused kind of a pause in everybody's thinking, especially if you're Jewish, like what is going on? How does something like this happen? And you don't rally around the hostages. You don't rally around what happened to these innocent people in Israel, but you rally around the aggressor. So the documentary was basically about how it all started. All that uh, negative propaganda started after October 7th, starting on October 8th, and how it started kind of snowballing into what it is now, and the continued messages and things that we continue to see online, continue to see in the media, whether it's the New York Times doing something that is ridiculous and throwing up an article because they heard something from Hamas and they're like, oh, this has to be true. And then they changed it like 3 or 4 times, the headline and the article, because they didn't have the full information. They just assumed what Hamas was saying was correct. That's one aspect of it. But other aspects of just how this propaganda just gets out there and how it's funded and how everybody has been so much against not just Israel, but also against the Jews since October 7th happened.
Yeah, it was a really like if you've been following, there's a subsect of creators and accounts that have been on Instagram that I didn't even know existed before October
Right.
7th, but like slowly I've kind of discovered them just because people collaborate with other creators and then they just show up in your feed. And I almost had to, I almost had to like pick and choose which ones I wanted to follow in the last few months because I noticed they were probably because I was engaging with them and liking all of their content because I don't wanna not, show my support,
Right.
but Instagram was, like, feeding it so much to me that I was almost getting overexposed to it, that, like, I was obsessing over it, and it was devastating for my mental health. Like, this was around when the Bibas kids were, tragically discovered as being killed, and, like, it was just such a devastating time, and I just, like, I had to, like, cut myself loose. But
Yeah.
I had been following so many of these accounts so closely, especially around all the protests on the college campuses, and it was so freaking angering. I mean, for someone like me and you, I imagine you and I are very similar, I think, in our beliefs when it comes to this. And
Hmm.
we're not incredibly, highly charged politically. We're not out there like on the picket lines. We're not doing anything like that. We're not, but we're really passionate about our beliefs and we love Judaism, like being Jewish, and that's like really
Right.
important to us. We're not super religious in our homes. We're not like like super Israeli or anything, but this is devastating to us to see. And I think it's been really hard for people like you and I. I think there's a huge subsect of people, Americans, that just feel devastated and feel very, um, I guess, betrayed by a
Yeah.
lot of people that we thought would be not even on our
Allies.
side, but like just like a little bit more empathetic towards us during this time.
Well, you think about, Jews as, especially American Jews, have been historically Democrats and historically on the progressive side. And they even mentioned this in the documentary when you talk about Martin Luther King and the people who walked with Martin Luther King and supported him. There were a lot of Jewish people, and even Martin Luther King's at looking at uh, Israel, and he was a Zionist. All of these things that you would think that we would have some kind of sympathy, allyship during the protests in 2020 over BLM. Many Jews participated in that and were part of that civil rights movement. The LGBT plus community, same thing. So when we're looked at as um, aggressors in this situation, or we're looked at as people who are, uh, we're the David, or sorry, we're the Goliath against, and then everybody else is the David because we're Jewish and we own everything and we're so powerful. Um, it's not the case, and it becomes really sad when we thought we could have it's really sad that we have so many people's backs, and then when we needed that help and needed that hand, no one was coming to our door.
So I tell this story a little bit on my show on Daily Dose. I've talked about this before, and this is a really, really big reason why I wanted to do this show with you. Is I found myself torn a lot because I have this platform on my other show, which has a huge audience. I get, so many hundreds of thousands of monthly uh, impressions, right? Via video and audio. So
Humble brag.
but the point is that they're not there to hear about Judaism, and they're
Right, I
not
get
there
that.
to hear about Israel, and they're definitely not there to hear about my views, my personal views on the war. And in fact, they're most of them are anti my views on the war, because that's sadly the way that this world has become. And so I noticed that I would try to like sneak it in just because I didn't want them not to know who I was every time I would get this influx of people coming in. For example, in my recent like influx of audience with Blake Lively's story coverage this year, I would get these new listeners that were like, I'm obsessed with your show. And then in the meantime, we'd have this crazy drama and sad story with the Bibas family. And I felt so sad not to be able to just mention that, because I would be watching the horrible exchange of the coffins seconds before I had to go live talking about
I,
Blake Lively.
it's part of you, but it's part of your life too. Like you have to be who
Exactly.
you are
And it's a
on these
5 day a
things.
week show. So I'm
Right.
going right from that, going here, and I would get emotional sometimes, or I would just want to mention, like, listen, I'm wearing orange today because I feel, I want to. And the amount of anger, hate, and you've seen my Reddit, stuff,
Yeah.
right? So the amount of disgusting, horrible stuff that would come at me just simply because I am Jewish, or because I feel like I am, protective of the Israelis and Israel or whatever, is insane. And they immediately think that that means that I support war and that I support killing of people, right? That you can't
Mhm.
be protective of Jews and Israel without immediately saying that means that you want people dead. It's
And
like you can't.
you're automatically a fan of genocide, is what
Well,
they think.
so that's a whole other story, is because there's totally misinformation out there.
Well,
And that's
yes.
a huge part of what this movie was about too, which but going back to the podcast idea is, and why I wanted to do this, is because I felt so kind of stuck. Like we have this ability that we want to talk about our feelings, and we want to share who we are, and why these parts, because they're in our blood. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know how to be who I am without also being Jewish and
Yeah.
being able to share. And I feel like just because there's so few of us and because there's not that many people speaking for us, that if we don't speak, who the hell, and no one, and half of us aren't speaking. Half of the big
Yeah.
ones of us aren't speaking, right? Michael Rappaport, who is such a big, and we've spoken about him on our show before, who
Hmm.
is such a big speaker for the Jewish community, says in the movie, he's so funny. He actually
Right.
has a great quote. I came home and told Lance. He says, I mean, I'm so grateful, but like, this is fucking embarrassing that I am the number one like celebrity that is here in Washington speaking. Like, I should not be. Michael Rappaport should not be anywhere near the
He's
number
self
one Jewish celebrity.
he's self-aware enough that he knows that he is a celebrity, but he knows that he is not the biggest Jewish celebrity out there.
Michael
There
Rappaport
should be
should
other
not
people.
be in the
The
world of
biggest.
Hollywood, should
You're
never
right.
be known as the top Hollywood Jew. Like, there's so many more Jews that should go above Michael Rappaport. It's wild that he is the number one in so many lists, like in this world, right? This is a crazy, crazy upside down world that it's hard to find a Jew in Hollywood, like, that will
Um,
speak on this.
Sidebar for a sec.
Yeah.
You know, he played a Nazi in a movie, which I always found very interesting.
Wait, I
To
kind of feel like I remember this. What? Which one?
It's called Higher Learning. It was
Yes.
in the 90s. I think it was John Singleton directed it. It was like Ice
Yes.
Cube, Buster Rhymes was in it, Michael Rappaport.
He played like a skinhead.
Yeah, he was a guy, like kind of a loner. He was a freshman in college, and he met a bunch of other skinheads. And I guess something happened where he was like, "Yeah, you know what? I'm going to join this group of people." Shaved his head and became a Nazi. I always found that interesting, especially now considering what his role is in being so pro Israel and pro Jewish, that he actually played a Nazi. That shows his range at the very least of having a Jew playing a Nazi. It's pretty interesting. Sorry, that was
I
just a
do
little
remember
sidebar.
this. I totally remember that. But I mean, he looks less Jewish than a Jew,
Oh,
right? Like, he doesn't
he
look
looks
Jewish. He
no,
looks
no.
very German, but or Swedish or something. He's very light-skinned, light hair. But it's just incredible. Another thing that I thought was really interesting about the movie was how much they really focused on how many, black Jews there are. And they interviewed so many beautifully, like, gorgeous different looks of
Yeah.
Israelis and Jewish people, because there's this big kind of strange, like, I don't know, it's like some rumor or some false like fact that there's like this apartheid idea that no one in Israel can be anyone but the Jew. It's like everyone thinks that you're living under some sort of I don't know, that everyone looks the same. Everyone's this white
Well, that's the
supremacist.
thing is that they think that Jews are now the white supremacists, right? They think because we look, I mean, you and I look white and we're Jewish, but we're not what Israeli Jews look like. Like if you go to Israel, the colors of people's skin are so different than what, especially me being an Eastern European Ashkenazi Jew, it's completely different. And you see so many different colors, especially in that movie. And the fact that people don't understand that we are so diverse in the way we look is a huge part of the problem. They
Hmm.
don't just think it's not just Jewish. They think we are white supremacists, that we believe that we are, since we're white, we deserve more and we're better. None of this is true. It is all fucking make believe and a
Make believe.
narrative that continues to be, uh, you know, propagandized and sent all over the place. And we get the shit end of the stick, of course.
Yeah, I mean, my kids go to a Jewish school, and my older son, one of his good friends, she is Ethiopian and a Jew, obviously, and Israeli. And her dad came to Israel when he was very young. Like, he traveled by foot. Like, he has all the memories. I mean, there's a huge Ethiopian Jewish community. There's such amazing stories of I mean, look at all the different people that were killed on October 7th from all walks of
Yeah.
life, all religions, all countries. And that's another thing. So this is, I mean, we'll go back to October 8th because I definitely want to talk more about how important that movie was. But just as a side note, this last week, Douglas Murray, who is a very, very important uh, scholar, expert, author, speaker, British man who speaks on these things, right? And he's not, what was interesting is my husband, Lance, producer of the show, did not know who he was. And this is important because I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you about this. So he was on Joe Rogan. Lance loves Joe Rogan. I like Joe Rogan. I don't listen every week. Lance listens more often. I only listen if he has an interesting interview on there. But like I'm not an everyday. He has hours and hours and hours of interviews a day. I
I
don't
can't
understand.
imagine. I can't imagine you listening to Joe Rogan every day.
But sometimes he has like really fascinating people on there.
I just don't see you as like a Joe Rogan bro.
No,
I can
but
see
I'm
Lance as
open.
a Joe Rogan bro. I can't see you as a Joe Rogan bro.
Yeah, but I'm open to like the
Right.
reason why I like someone like a Joe Rogan, I'll tell you why. Because I am so open to people that are willing to talk about different things that are out of their comfort zone and that are out of my comfort zone. And that's why I think that's good. But what I thought was interesting about this interview, and Joe Rogan has propped up a lot of very, very dangerous narratives about Israel recently.
Mm-hmm.
He's had Ian Carroll on his show, who is so dangerous for Israel.
Yep.
He's a comedian that is like connected to Candace Owens, like really freaking anti-Israel.
Yep.
This Dave Smith guy who was on the same interview with Douglas Murray, who is Lance says he's like a smart, interesting guy. I don't know him at all, except for the fact that he's Jewish. His parents were Israeli, and he's a grandson of a Holocaust survivor. So he's us, basically. And because of that, he feels like he's an expert, just like I guess we are in terms of being able to talk about it. But he's
Yeah,
anti-Israel,
he sits on the other side. Yeah.
which is so hard to listen to when you hear that. Like I just hate that.
I know. I agree. I think that's the minority of Jews, but yes, there are those. I mean, there are Jewish organizations out there now that are, Jews for peace, and
I
it's
don't think those
all.
are real Jews. I think they're
I
fake.
whatever they are,
JVP.
yeah, whatever they are, they're bad for everybody. They're not good, and they
Is
spread
Dave
more
Smith, do you
propaganda.
know anything about Dave Smith? Is
No,
he see, I'm curious, is he anti-Israel or just anti-Netanyahu? Because that's very different.
I'm not sure. I don't know much about him. I'm not a Joe Rogan bro myself, so he
Yeah.
must have been on there a few other times. But I do know who you're talking about, though. But go on because I'm going to add to what you were saying when you're
So
done.
anyway, I didn't watch the entire interview. It did have multiple negative takes against like the majority of people that I saw that listened to it because they're Joe Rogan people, they're going to take Joe Rogan and Dave Smith's side. And most people that listen to it in terms of like the YouTube community that I see, the comments were like, "Wow, Douglas got taken down.
Right,
Douglas is pompous. Douglas doesn't know what he's talking about. Douglas is this, Douglas is that." Because what Douglas is saying to Joe Rogan is, why are you putting people like Dave Smith on your show who's not an expert in this, who's not a historian, who's not a geopolitical person, who's never even been to the region? He's never been to Israel. He's never been to Gaza. I mean, Dave has never been to Israel and he's talking about it for a year and a
right.
half. He's never been to Israel. He's never been to Gaza. He's never been to any of these crossing points where he's talking about the fact that Israel is blocking food to Gaza. And he's talking about it nonstop everywhere he's going, but he's never even seen it for his own eyes. That's really telling about about all of this. I don't remember why I even brought up Douglas, but there was a point that I'm sure I'll find at some point. But what were you just
No,
jumping
what
in?
I find, and then what I find interesting about Douglas is that, and you'll see this online constantly, is that Douglas in his rest of his politics, in the way he journalizes, I think he works for Sky News. I could be wrong on that, but he is more of a conservative Republican in the traditional U.S. sense, right?
Okay.
Um, and when he starts going off on that kind of stuff, a lot of people will not, especially on the Jewish side or the Democrat side, will not take him seriously because of his political leanings, and that also aggravates me, right? Because if we are talking about the livelihood of Jews or the livelihood of the Israelis, political lines should not have anything to do with it. You should be listening to facts. You should be listening to what is real, and you should not think about what this person is, how this person votes, how this person, what network this person works for. Yes, you politics. It's very everyone's very divided, and there's certain things in politics that fine if you want to be divided on, you can be. This is not one of them. This is the livelihood of an entire culture of people that make up 2.4%
Percent
of this country, and even a smaller percent of the
of the
entire
world.
world's population.
14
So,
million of us in
yeah,
the
world.
world.
Yeah. So that's the kind of stuff that really pisses me off is when you see somebody who is, let's say, a Republican, and he has pro Israel or Jewish, thoughts and displays them. There are a lot of people on the left that are like, I'm going to dismiss it because I don't like this guy and I don't like his political leanings. And we've had this conversation. I'm more a moderate. I'm more on the left, but I'm more on the moderate side. I can't, especially when it comes to this. I don't care who's saying it.
That's how
Any
I feel.
pos, any positive comments, any positive uh, rhetoric, good rhetoric is stuff that we should be listening to and we should
That's
be
how I feel.
concentrating on.
Like Richie Torres, for example,
Yeah,
Democrat. Is he a senator?
he is a what is he?
New
No, he's a
Jersey
congressman.
senator?
He's no New York
Congressman
congressman.
out of New Jersey.
I thought New York.
Gay. He's
Anyway,
gay. He's
yes,
I can't remember
he's
what his
half black and
nationality is.
half black, half Latino.
Half black, half Latino. Richie Torres. If you're Jewish, you probably know who he is. He has been such a freaking ally to the Jews and to Israel since day one, to the point where like I'm almost like in tears sometimes by him because he speaks for the Jews more than some Jews speak for the Jews, more than
Oh,
many Jews speak for the Jews.
yeah,
He is so incredible in his determination for us, and he does it because he like held and he was in this movie. He's featured in the film multiple times, and he holds pictures of Martin Luther King in front of him, and he's like, "Well, this is what Martin Luther King would do." Like
yeah,
Martin Luther King would do this. Like he is speaking like Martin Luther King because Martin Luther King was a Zionist. It's so incredible. This guy, Chris cares none or Chris cares one or whatever, this food blogger, this
yes.
black food blogger that is
Oh,
nothing to do with Judaism,
this
nothing
is
to do with
this
anything.
this breaks my heart
I
because
love
I
this
had
man.
seen him. I'd seen this dude before he was talking about Jewish food, when he was talking about all that other stuff. And then when he started talking about Jewish food, I'm like, this is fucking awesome. This guy
I will
rocks.
never forget this man because I have no idea where he came from, but he just showed up in my feed one day
Yeah.
probably because of this, because Instagram knows what to serve you, right? He shows up in my feed, this kind of like heavier set black man with this big facial hair, right? And he goes, "Hey, Jewish people." And I remember like bracing because, right? I'm like, he hates us. He wants to kill us. This
Right.
is probably a year ago when I first saw him in my feed.
Because you get a lot of those in your feed about people that
I'm
hate
sure.
Jews.
Well, just hey, Jewish people. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
what did we do here? What
But
genocide did we cause here? You know, hey, Jewish people, stop killing the Palestinians. And
which
he
he did
goes,
not say.
no, hey, Jewish people, I'm gonna try some babka.
Yeah. It's all
And
about
now,
babka and
and
rugula and black and white cookies and every delicious Jewish food you can possibly think of.
and he is now speaking. And actually, I sent it to you the other day because he posted on his Instagram stories and he said, I'm going to put this on my main feed, but I just am kind of like sharing it with you guys here first. He said, I have never, in fact, what I'll do is I'm going to share it right here and then you can hear
Nice.
it on the audio because I think it's so important. I really do think it's so important for everyone to hear his words. It's
Especially because he's an outsider of the Jewish community. It is
That's the most
extremely
important.
important.
I
Right.
think that's the most important part.
Yes.
Because when it comes from the Jews, it sounds like we're trying to be like crybabies or victims or whatever. It's the fact that he's not Jewish
Yep.
is why it's important. So this is him talking about how his reactions when he posts Jewish content.
Say this on the main page, but I want to clean up this thought with y'all behind the scenes. The amount of anti-Semitism, ain't nobody paying me this. As a matter of fact, the reason that I'm even talking about this is I was talking about Sephardic Jewish food on one of my videos, and somebody goes, mentioning all these Israel lobbyists, like, are you paying him? Like, y'all think that they're paying me to talk about food? The anti-Semitism that I have noticed, and I have personally felt, I have gotten death threats. I see it. Ain't nobody paying me to say that. I can say whatever the fuck I want. It is real, and you can see it. Of all the culture, hold on a second. I've done all the cultures. I've done white people. I've done black people. I've done Indian, Italian, Mediterranean, Greek. I've done Polish, Russian. I've done everything. Belizean. I see the most stuff, the most negative comments on my Jewish content. I've done Palestinian. I see the most hate on the Jewish content. That is a real world. That's not what I'm being told. That's what I see in my comments. It's obvious. And as someone who's probably not in my space, especially if you're non-Jewish, and then you see it, it's different when you see it from an outsider's perspective. It's crazy. There's only 14 million Jewish people on earth, y'all. And they're the most, I can see why they're always in fear, because it's openly like cool. It's crazy. And this ain't a political stance. Ain't nobody asking me to say this. I am going to put this on the main page. I just want to clean it up, make it, clean. But people might be like, well, what's wrong with the conflict, right? And I don't like no human being getting hurt for whatever reason, whether somebody's right or wrong. I don't like it. Just like I don't like half the shit that America does, that I'm an American. I don't like that shit, half the things that we do. Right now, half America don't like what America's doing. So this ain't got nothing to do with the policies. I'm talking about just what I see. I'm literally trying food, and I'm seeing Jewish people get hate. That's crazy. Of all the cultures, I'll make a Mexican video. I love my Mexican family. Don't nobody say nothing crazy. Black people, even white folks, nobody say nothing crazy. But the Jewish people do, and I'm gonna fight for that, man, because that's bullshit. Yeah, I'm gonna say.
Yeah, it's pretty it's miserable, man. I don't even know what to say. I'd say the one silver lining there is that I watched that and I went through the comments, and it was one of the nicest and best comment section I'd ever seen. Like
Same.
literally, when you see anybody talking about Jewish culture, any of that, the first thing you see is the Palestinian flag or Free Palestine, or then something about Hitler, or it's something ridiculous. And then he said it, and I looked at the comments, and it was from both Jews and non-Jews, basically praising him for this. And that's the only silver lining I got from it. But the fact that a creator like that, who's not even Jewish, who is somebody who is just trying to make some fun content and explore the amazing cuisines from all over the world, um, and just happens to do some uh, Jewish food content and gets a shit ton of hate.
And then you wonder, why we question or why we push back on this idea. Like, why do we think anti Zionism is anti Semitism? And the reason why is because there is a loop. And I believe that there is a strong loop and cycle. And so, for anyone listening and wondering, no, 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 it's not connected. Here's why I think it's connected. And there's a lot of reasons why people would say that there is or isn't a loop. And I'm curious your take on this too. There's a lot of people that say, I don't care about Jewish people. It has nothing to do with Jewish people. It's about Israel. I'm not happy with Netanyahu and I don't like what Israel's doing. Okay, fine. There's a lot of people in the world that don't like Trump. Okay. There's a lot of people in the world that are not happy with Trump. But if I go right now and fly to another country and say, I'm American, they're not going to immediately be like, wait, what? You're American? I don't have to hide my American, passport, like be scared, literally be scared for my life that I'm American. There's a separation between being American because of your president and being Jewish because you don't even have to live in Israel, just being the religion that is connected to the country that is. So there is a connection in that way. The reason why there is a connection, I believe, between Zionism or anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism is because of examples like this. The word Jewish immediately gets hate. Food that has absolutely nothing to do with the country gets hate. People that are born in America that have never even been to Israel or don't even know anything about the war can get hate just because they're Jewish. Shows or TV shows or characters on TV shows that are Jewish are getting hate. These are totally separated. But what is Zionism? The actual definition of Zionism is the right to have a Jewish state, right? Like the right of Jews to create a safe homeland in Israel. Why do we need that? To protect us so that we have a safe home in case or in the state of, things like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that we have a place if like the Holocaust or in just a place to call our home for Jews that we can be safe in.
Yeah.
For anti-Semitism, if it increases like it has been, or if God forbid there's another Holocaust, we need to have Zion, like we need to be Zionists. We need
Right.
Israel.
We need a
It
place.
is a loop. That's how I
I
look
mean,
at it.
it is because when people advocate for, from the river to the sea, the advocating of getting rid of an entire country, that basically if Israel was gone, the Jews would be done. That's it. We have no place to go after that.
I know.
We are here. You and I are here in the United States. We're here in Los Angeles. But you're right. If Israel's gone, we have no place to go if shit goes down.
Yeah.
That is our safe. That's our, for lack of a better term, our safe space. Right? It's our place where we can go to be
Protected.
protected. So yeah, 100%. It's what it is,
And I
and
was saying
it's
on my other show that, like, you know, there's a lot of creators out there, these dangerous creators that are being highlighted on places like Joe Rogan. And there's this whole extreme group right now, the Candace Owens, the Ian Carrolls, these people that are very anti-Israel, right? They're now like really taking down Israel. They're like, they believe Israel is in control of our entire government. They believe Israel killed JFK. They believe Israel is behind RFK right now. They believe Israel is the devil. Okay. And I have a strong issue with that. I have a strong issue with like putting all bets on the fact that Israel is the biggest problem because the way I see it is like you can't look at Israel being the biggest problem. Israel is our only um ally in that entire region.
yeah.
If you don't have Israel in that entire region, what, we're going to be allies with Iran?
No, that there's no more allyship. It's
So
done.
then what? We're fucked, right?
So let me ask. Oh, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So with the movie, when you were done watching the movie, how'd you feel? Like, what was your kind of immediate gut reaction when you were done?
Um Okay, so I was incredibly overwhelmed. So the whole movie is to educate you on the realities of what's happening around the world and the country, especially in terms of what's happening on college campuses and throughout the country in terms of the radicalization and the behind the scenes, grassroots organizations that are now becoming very mainstream in terms of why are people like organizing so easily and like being anti-Israel and anti-America, et cetera. I've seen it all happening on the outside. I didn't realize how deep and how long
Right.
it's been happening below the seams. A lot of people that I've spoken to have been following this for 20 years. And so they weren't shocked by it. This all came to light. I've been living in a bubble. So I didn't know any of this existed until October 7th or October 8th, I should say.
Right.
Literally, October 8th was the first time I saw this exist. I knew people didn't like Israel, but I thought it was like 7 people. I really didn't think it was this big. I mean, I knew people didn't like Israel. I just didn't realize it was in America like this. I
Oh,
thought it
and
was
then
like
it was like top of mind that it was such a big deal.
I just thought it was some Proud Boys on the right. I
Right.
thought it was some Nazis, KKK. I thought it was, some Palestinian like people, like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't realize it was just people that looked like you and I basically walking on the street. I didn't realize it was like college kids that I would have partied with.
Right.
It's really freaking. I didn't realize it was teachers that were teaching our kids, not my kids, because my kids go to Jewish school, but like your kids,
Mm-hmm.
like you
Mm-hmm.
went through an issue at your school last year that was wild.
We can go through that another time, but yeah, I
Yeah, we
definitely want
should.
to talk
So,
about
like,
that.
these things were just popping up left and right in our homes, in our schools, in our workplaces. I had an experience recently on a podcast. Like, we're having these experiences pop up. Like, I was on a plane the other day with the girl that had a Free Palestine
Yeah.
sticker on her laptop right next to me, and a guy with a kippah on my left. I felt like I was in a movie.
Yeah.
So this shit is like it's like it's popping up like mold, like or whatever, like whack-a-mole. And so that part scared the living shit out of me. I'm not
Okay.
joking. It felt very overwhelming. It felt almost like when I had to unfollow everyone on Instagram,
Mm.
I was like, I don't like living in this world. Like, I want to pretend it's not happening, you know?
So that's interesting. So I think for me, when during the movie, and I don't know if you noticed like what I was doing during the movie or any of that.
We're eating a shit ton of popcorn.
Fuck yeah. I listen. It doesn't matter what movie it is. It could be
So
Schindler's
much
List. It
popcorn.
could be a comedy. I don't give a shit. That popcorn's mine.
And it was actually really good popcorn. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie, Lemley.
Oh, you. Oh, did you eat some of my popcorn?
I did, but like some theaters just don't nail the popcorn and some
I know.
do. Like they nailed
They
it.
did a good job. They did a good job. Um, but that movie made me so angry. Like that is the word I keep on
Aw.
going back to. And the reason it makes me angry, and it's the reason because we were able to ask a couple questions afterwards to the producer, was I'm watching these things and you see all of it unfold. You see all of the different things of, all the propaganda that's being said. And I'm like, I'm so angry because I'm like, it's me reliving all of this again,
Yeah.
right? It's all these different moments from the New York Times article to the Columbia students breaking into that whatever building that was and taking it over, and like all the encampments, all of that stuff. I was like taking off. I was wearing a hat. I was taking off my hat. I kept on running my
You were
hands through my
sweating?
head, and I was pretty much, and I was like putting my hand, like going like this, and putting
I thought
my
that
head in
was
my
because
hands,
the Florida
the
Auburn
popcorn.
game was
No, no,
happening.
no, no. It was Florida, Houston, but nice try.
Yeah.
I was furious, and I think it's because I was just like every time something new on screen, I'm like, oh, that happened, that happened, that happened.
Yeah.
And rather than make me sad, it just pissed me the fuck off because I was
Mhm.
more sad and scared when they happened, but rewatching it was like, I can't believe that in this country we are not just we let this happen, we continue to let this fucking shit happen. And
Because
it
it was
pissed me.
happening the night of the movie
I
that we were
know.
watching.
I know. And it just made me sick to my stomach and pissed off. And
Mhm.
it's why when the movie was over and because I need to be center of attention, I had to ask the first
I'm
question.
surprised he didn't sing.
Well, even I know that it wasn't appropriate at that point to sing. But I did ask, I'm like, how are you guys marketing this movie to people who aren't Jewish?
Mm.
Because that's really that's really where we need to go with this type of information, right? We know this, we're talking about it. All the Jews, or most of the Jews who watch this, know about this as well. but like, or watch this podcast. How do we get this out to people who don't understand it, don't live it every day, who aren't in fear because that they're Jewish? Like, how do we get that out? And I think they're trying to make the right steps to get it into schools, to get it into other festivals, to put it in, more of an education, as opposed to just creating a documentary for entertainment's sake. And I think that's the right move, but I'm always scared that that's not going to be enough. And it probably won't be, but
The
I do
problem,
appreciate the effort.
yeah, I mean, I think it needs to be on Netflix. I think it needs to be for free. I think it needs to be easily accessible and not for pay.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing, is that if it's only in a movie theater, you really have to want to see it.
Right.
And even as a Jewish person and getting a free ticket, it was hard for me to go because it was a difficult subject, right? Like, I wanted to go, obviously, but it was still like I had a little bit of like anxiety
And
about
you
it.
also have a life. You have to make sure Lance is watching the
Well,
kids.
sure,
But
sure,
I'm
sure.
saying maybe not you, but like everybody, a lot of other
Hard to
people
go to the
going to a
movies.
movie. Right. Exactly.
Yeah, make
The
it easily
Making it
accessible.
easier. Right. Make it easy. Make that information in this movie easily accessible so people can see it.
And you can buy it at home and you can watch it from home on YouTube or whatever, but it's 25 bucks, like
Right.
make it for free. So that's number 1, which is not going to be easy to do. They need distribution. Number two, here's where we have an issue. And I'm struggling with this because there's someone that I know who I had an issue with, who does what I do, who sees things very differently than I see things. And I lost it on them the other day in a personal text because they were talking about Miss Rachel, and they were poo-pooing on their show. They were poo-pooing the newest article that came out
Hmm.
about Stop Anti-Semitism, naming Miss Rachel, and the New York Post covering it, saying basically that Miss Rachel, for those people that don't really know, Miss Rachel is this very popular kids reporter, kids entertainer, like
Yeah.
Sesame Street, basically, on YouTube. She's huge. Thank God my kids are not in that age, because
I'm glad you said that because we just missed it.
yeah,
Thank God.
yeah. So my
Just
kids
missed
are
it.
not in that age, so I had never had to watch it, and I don't have to like pull them off that addiction. But
Yes.
Miss Rachel is like, one of those, and she is of this like, I love all kids, I care about all kids, I work with all kids. But she's very specifically has taken a side in this war, and on her Instagram has promoted Hamas's numbers, has posted very pro-Palestine content, very pro-Gaza, very anti-Israel posts about the war only when it injures kids in Gaza, and
Right.
does not talk about Israeli children. And many Israeli children have also died in this war, and many continue to live in bomb shelters every night and like have to constantly, struggle there. And she only takes numbers from Hamas. And it's really unfortunate because she's being told this month after month after month after month, and she doesn't listen and she doesn't hear. And so stopantisemitism.org, I believe, is the name of their
Hmm.
organization, which from what I know about them, I don't know a lot. I just think it's a nonpartisan, like nonprofit, just an organization out to educate on
And I think
anti-Semitism.
it's important that you say nonpartisan because it goes back to what I was saying. People, if you lean right, you lean left, people are going to say, I don't believe you. There are a couple of those organizations that are out there. Stop Anti-Semitism is not. They are very much just giving out information. They don't give a shit who you are. If you are anti-Semitic, they're going to showcase you. Sorry, continue.
And so people that they've like talked about before in the past have been like a Candace Owens. I know that they've talked about multiple huge players that have been, publicly have promoted anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
And they mentioned Miss Rachel this last week. And it's not because they're trying to cancel her or anything. It's just trying to promote the fact that, like, I don't know if you get it, girl, but you were promoting anti-Semitism. So this person talked about it in their show, which gets a
You're
lot of views,
the person who does the same thing you do, right?
similar,
Okay.
and it gets a lot of views, but said this pro-Israel group, Stop Anti-Semitism, which is
It's in the, by the way, it's in the fucking name. Stop anti-Semitism is literally stopping anti-Semitism.
there's nothing about it that says pro-Israel.
Right.
So that's so misleading and also really, really anti-Semitic to say.
Yep.
So you're already screwing up the story. Then you're poo-pooing all over it by saying like, this is just another one of those tactics. Like as if we're just like victims. Oh, whiny, you
Yep.
know? Well, we have nothing better to do. We're
We have
just
to
going
keep.
after Miss Rachel for fun.
Yeah, it's us trying to fucking protect ourselves again, over and over and over. It's just self-preservation.
It's crazy. And it's so upsetting to me that we get told this, like stopping a victim. I would like one person to go to a black person that says you're being racist and say stop being a victim every
Yeah.
time, every time, every time. And yes, that is starting to happen a lot. And black people say like that's crazy. You can't say that. If a like cuz that is happening a lot now. You know, people are getting a lot of there's a lot of the anti-DEI stuff
Hmm.
that's happening now. And they're getting pushback. They're saying like this is wild. You're white supremacist. But for Jews it's okay.
Yeah.
This is what Douglas Murray was saying, and this is why I mentioned Douglas Murray earlier. And this was very, very telling. He mentioned one thing in that clip that I sent you. He talks a lot. It's a long interview, so he only talks about Israel and Gaza, and he talks a lot about it. But in these little short parts, he's mentioned something. He said, "Never before," and this has happened in my country before. He's British, where we've had similar situations where we've had, like suicide bombers or
Talk about
attacks.
Ariana Grande, the attack
Pulse
in
nightclub.
Paris.
Yeah, the Paris Pulse nightclub, Ariana Grande, Muslim
Right.
bombings, et cetera, et cetera. He said these are similar attacks that have happened to like Nova, like the
Hmm.
Nova Music Festival, where it's just been innocent people dancing or celebrating at a concert, at a party, at a nightclub, where they have been brutally murdered or attacked. And Nova was times 10 of any of those other,
Oh, 100%. And more
right?
planned and a lot more people
Nova
involved.
was beyond. It was times
Yeah.
100 actually of any of those other ones. He said, but the difference was in any of those other ones, never did anyone say blame the victims
Yeah.
of the Pulse nightclub and never would anyone say, but why were they there or what did they do wrong or but they're British.
Why
Like
are they enjoying an Ariana Grande concert? Like
yeah, like
it makes.
they go to college, but they're Jewish,
Yep.
but they're Christian. Like it's wild. He said they were double victimized. They were victimized. They were the victims of a horrendous attack, and they were murdered or kidnapped or raped or stolen, all the things.
Hmm.
And then they were again in death, or once they were stolen or raped or all, then they were again victimized.
Victimized. Dealing with it again.
He said, I've never in my life seen anything like that. And then for the world and especially America to take the side of the aggressor.
Yeah.
It's a wild thing to see. So that is basically what all of this content is all surrounding. And maybe I'm living under a rock or in unicorn land. My dream is that one day it's going to start to shift the narrative. And someday in the next couple of years, hopefully, because I know it's going to be a while, but I really do pray and hope that one day people will wake up and say like, wait, like why am I like on that side? Like that seems weird.
I love your positivity. I really, really do.
What's the other
But
option?
uh, to continue going down this road, historically,
So
as
what?
I I don't know. I don't know. but historically, as we've seen, the Jews have always been uh, the ones who are attacked. We're always fighting for our lives, fighting for our protection. Um, so I like the positivity, but it's really hard for me to say shit's going to change because this seems to be, as much as we hate to say it, history repeating itself, continuously
Okay,
scapegoating Jews.
but see, that's what I'm saying. Seeing that movie and feeling overwhelmed, and then hearing that you're saying this is the way it's going, that tells me we're coming into a Holocaust.
Well, let's not go that far yet.
Well, that's what that tells me, and I can't
Of
live that way.
course. Well, then don't live that way. I mean, we have to be positive, and that's why I said I like your positivity about it. And when we have children who are Jewish, we have to stay positive. We have to continue to live our lives, do our best to raise our kids, and not shy away from the fact that we are Jewish. Continue to live the way we live and not hide. And we should be positive, and we should be, you know, how what you're saying.
And
There's
we have
just
to be
always
grateful that our current administration is very pro-Israel. Honestly, like RFK is pro-Israel. Donald Trump is pro-Israel. Like we are not in a country that are run by people that don't
right,
like Israel. Thank God.
and Trump is doing some great shit for it. Whether you hate
You
him or
have
like
to
him,
admit it.
he's doing some
Even
great shit for
even
Jews.
Wendy Sachs, the producer and the director of the movie, who is clearly a very strong liberal. She says
Yeah.
it. She said it to us in the Q&A, and her everyone she's interviewing in that movie is definitely a liberal. She is clearly a liberal. She even said Donald Trump is good for Israel. So
And this
it's
is why I
good to
said
look at that.
and this is why I said I don't care what if you I don't care if you're Jewish, what side you're on politically. If people are doing stuff that are good for the Jews, that are good for Israel, we have to applaud that. We have to be fans of that. Again, you don't have to like everything that Trump does, what he
Hell
stands for,
no.
all of that
Hell
shit. You
no.
don't have to. I don't like most of his shit, but I will definitely say that what he does with Jews in Israel so far has been great.
Are we going to
Yeah.
talk about next week? Are we going to talk about Bill Maher and Donald Trump when they go to dinner
Well,
for
I'm
lunch?
very excited to see.
We're
I
recording
guess.
this.
Oh,
We're recording this early, so we haven't seen it airs
tonight.
when this
Our
airs, it
yeah.
aired last week, but we recorded this early, so we'll talk about it next week.
Yes, let's do that. I'm definitely very interested. I don't want to get overly political on this podcast, but obviously sometimes we have to
It's
considering what's going
important.
on. Yeah.
It's important.
We
Oh
can
my God. Do you know that's so funny? One of my friends, Robin, just said, I want to send this to you and Adam.
yeah,
It's matzo hot
matzo
dog.
hot dogs. I've been getting so many of those all week and I do appreciate all the matzo hot dog content.
And then
And we don't
another thing that's funny is Lance literally just sent me a text right now that said I could use a Newman nap.
see, and we'll get back to talking about
He
naps.
literally said I could use a Newman nap right now.
We'll get back to naps and queefing and
No,
all
I
the
never
fun
want to
shit we
get back
talk
to
about.
queefing.
Okay, it's fine. Then we'll find another ridiculous term to discuss.
So Chag Sameach.
Oh
It's
yes,
Passover. I
yes,
hope you had an enjoyable first few days of Passover, everyone.
yes. And if you are keeping kosher Passover,
Sorry.
keep strong. Well, yeah, sorry because I'm not doing it either. But
Sorry,
keep
and I'm sorry that
strong.
you're constipated because I feel like matzah constipates you.
Why are you saying sorry? What if they like constipation?
Who the hell wants to be constipated? Anyway, go
Um,
see October 8th, the film. It's on, no, but seriously, go to their Instagram or their
yes,
website. I believe it's October 8th. We'll put it in the show notes, actually.
yeah.
And then also, you can watch it. You can stream it on YouTube, or I think through their website, they have all the links. I think you can stream it through a lot of places, but I think you do have
And
to
we'll
pay.
and we'll continue updating once we see it in different places. If it's streaming somewhere, we'll make sure to tell everybody because again, I think it's an a very important documentary to watch. And please, if you do watch it, tell your non-Jewish friends to see it as well.
Always tell the non-Jews.
Always,
All right, Adam.
Donna, always a pleasure. I'm sad we couldn't do this face to face in person, but sometimes life gets in
I'm
the way.
face to face.
I need to see your whole aura in person. Yes.
at Samo's Grill.
Let's do it next time.
Oh my God, that's what we should do it on location. All right, I'll
Definitely.
talk to you soon, Adam. Bye.
Bye.
Jewies. Just Jewies.
Just Jewish.
All right, bye.